So thanks again so much for joining us. Today is our second installment of our Builder Academy. Tomorrow will be the third day. And today we're going to be getting into more of the details here around managing selections, changes, and day-to-day operations. So before we do that, I can introduce myself. My name is Katie. I'm on the product marketing team. So I work closely with a lot of our customers, basically to understand how you're using Houzz Pro, and then share that feedback with our product development teams and our engineers to make sure that we're building the right features for your business and what you're looking for. And Julia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Julia. I work at Houzz as a client success manager. I specialize in our software, so maybe some of my pros are on the call, but I work with custom pros who are engaged with our software. So I meet with my pros and strategize about their businesses and help them adopt Houzz Pro and implement it into their business practices. So if you're interested in having a dedicated client success manager like myself and you don't already right now, I highly recommend investigating our custom program. It comes with a dedicated client success manager like myself to help you with your business and learn our software even more so.
Awesome. So I'll just go over quickly the agenda, what we'll be covering today. So we'll get into the 3D floor planner. I know it's always a meaty topic with lots of questions there. And then we'll get into the selections process. So the Clipper tool along with selections board and the selections tracker. And then we'll wrap up with change orders. And at the end, we'll just have, a little overview there of how you can also access more support or more help content. So we'll show you some of our team training resources along with our help center and our Houzz Pro forum. So as we're going through, feel free to add any questions you have into the Q&A tab, and either I'll answer them as we go through or Julia can answer some of them as well. And then just once again, you will get the recording, so don't feel like you need to be writing down everything as we go through. So with that, Julia, I will hand it over to you.
Awesome. I'll share my screen here. We'll get started with the 3D floor plan. Awesome. So the 3D floor plan is such an intensive tool. And by intensive, I mean there's so much you can do with it and so many ways to start with the tool. So my pros that are consistently using this tool are giving me feedback that it helps them sell more jobs. And it helps them do that because of the visual that they can present before their client. It also helps you get estimates out faster. No need to do a complicated takeoff all the time. The 3D floor plan can actually give you baseline measurements to help you get an estimate together even quicker and sent out to your client, hopefully before a competitor does. So it's going to help you win more jobs, get homeowner buy-in, and faster approvals on those projects. Those are kind of the goals. So to highlight some of the ways to start the 3D floor plan, of course, we can start from scratch. And right now I'm within a project folder. So the 3D floor plan is within projects as well as leads. So you can access it by going directly into the project you're looking to create it for. You can also view all of your 3D floor plans under the search category in all 3D floor plans. So those are the kind of ways I find my 3D floor plans and places I start when I'm looking to create one, especially when we're creating from scratch. That's just going to open you up with 4 walls, a box, essentially, to start from scratch, of course. My most popular way to start a 3D floor plan that my pros love is the 3D room scan. So this isn't available on all devices. It is Apple's technology. So I'm sorry to you Android folks out there. They have not developed it yet. I highly recommend getting either an iPad or an iPhone Pro. It needs to be an iPhone Pro 12 or newer. The important part is that Pro part because it has the technology to do the full LiDAR scan. which I'll kind of show you what that means in a minute. So you would open up your Houzz Pro app, go into your project or lead, and do a 3D room scan for the client. It would scan their whole entire home and take measurements of everything in it. It's an awesome tool. Another way to start a 3D floor plan is by uploading a blueprint. So if you do have the project plans, you can upload those, and actually AI will help convert it into a 3D rendering for you. Maybe you might have to fill in a door or a window that it missed, but it will get all of the structural items for you, like walls, mostly your doors and windows, and get that initial structure together so you can kind of fill in the design. So that's a great tool. And then we have templates here for all different rooms, areas of the home. So if you didn't have the opportunity to go in and do a client scan and you don't want to start from scratch, you can take a look at some of these templates. Maybe the layout of the space aligns with what you're going to be developing for the client or what their current space looks like. So you can always explore these as an option too. It's a built-out floor plan. That's a great starting point. I'm going to go into my floor plan I have here to use this one as an example today. And we'll talk through some just navigational items in the 3D floor plan first. And then I'll talk through like kind of some examples on how to do some items in here that I am commonly asked about from my pros. So, when we look over here at the left-hand side, we can kind of work our way from left to right. This first option is to have additional floors. So if you do need to add on a second floor or maybe a basement level to this floor plan, you can add floors and name them. And then if the secondary floor that you're creating has any similar structural elements to the first floor that you already made, we can replicate them over and add them onto the new floor so that you're starting with your existing structure outline. So that's a cool tool. A note to make about the floors is that they will not stack. You will not see the two floors stacked on top of each other. They will be on separate floor plans. Just something to call out there. We have some navigational tools here. Selection, this is, as it says, you're going to select anything you need to edit. It also can kind of help you move around your floor plan. The panning tool is helpful for when you're in Dollhouse and you're trying to like move throughout the floor plan. So you can use the rotation, the pan, and the selection tool to help transition your view within the floor plan, whether you're in 2D or 3D. This little magnet tool is what we call snapping. So a prime example is cabinetry. When I place a cabinet, do I want it to snap in place to the other ones so that there's no gap of space between the two? Or do I not want it to snap to the nearby structures? If I don't want it snapping, then I will turn that off. Next, we have our comment option. So you can add comments on to different items on your floor plan. And then there also is a client comment functionality too that I'll touch on a little bit later. Next, we have our draw wall tool. So if I need to add more walls into my floor plan, then this is the tool to do so. So when I start drawing walls, they will default to the height of my default wall height over here in my structures panel. So before I start drawing walls, I can take a look at that to make sure that I'm drawing at the height I want. It does not mean you can't adjust it later. So I always want to connect my walls to my existing walls and I can add on more. And then pretty commonly I get asked about how to get out of that tool. So if I didn't finish the draw wall connection to another wall, if I needed to stop here, How do I get out of this? You can press escape on your keyboard, or I can simply grab a different tool and it will get me out of that. If I had hit escape on my keyboard, it wouldn't have drawn this secondary wall. So just a little tip there when you're navigating the floor plan. We have draw outdoor spaces now. So this is an awesome way to represent patios, decks, outdoor structures. So you can grab your outdoor wall or outdoor drawing tool, and it functions the same as drawing walls internally, but it's going to default to pulling up our outdoor surface material selections here. So I can put in any sort of material I want, and it will be my outdoor surface. I can now edit the specific length and width of my tiles and other materials that I put down in spaces. I can even adjust the rotation, horizontal and vertical shifts of those materials. A common question I get asked about outdoor spaces is, can I represent a raised deck? Not at this time. We do not have elevated surfaces, but we know that's a heavily requested feature, and I believe that's something we'll be working on in the future. Right now, they're all going to sit at ground level. Next, in this dropdown, we have our room split functionality. So what does that mean? A lot of the times when my pros are working on a space, maybe if it's one room, that doesn't mean the same flooring is in the entire room. So you can split the room off by selecting the space and then drawing points from one wall to another. And then this will split the sections that I just separated so that I can add in additional flooring types. It also will split off my square footage too. So this is a helpful tip to understand, like if I only want to know the square footage of this one portion of the floor plan, I can use that room split. And when I select this area, it's going to give me that floor area over here compared to the whole room. So you can do it for measurement purposes or design purposes with different floorings. A note is that this room split does not affect your ceiling at this moment in time. It's only going to have an impact on your floors. We have a measurement tool here for you to take measurements. As a guide, you can kind of reference areas on your floor plan and they will stay there. You can also delete them when they're selected. This photorealistic image, this camera section here, this is the same as on the right-hand panel. It's to take photorealistic images. It looks awesome. I'll show you guys an example I have of this picture of this kitchen that I took. It adds in lighting through the windows, shadows, makes the textures kind of come to life. So in the effort of representing this to your client, definitely generate that photorealistic image once you put all the details of the floor plan together. Once it's all finished, it will look really nice. All right. Regarding the scan functionality, when you're in a client's home, after you scan and come back onto your computer to look at that floor plan, a lot of my pros don't want to touch the original existing floor plan. So what I recommend is coming into the actions panel and you can duplicate the floor plan and make a copy of it in this same existing project or lead. That would give you a secondary copy of this same floor plan where you can kind of show the renovations that you're going to be making to the space. So you don't have to disrupt the original scan. We can just duplicate it and then work on the copy that we made. In our settings panel here, we have lots of different ways to customize your units of measurements and then also show additional measurements. Like I have all of these measurements across all these walls. That's because of the wall dimensions that I turned on. So there's additional settings in here, and a heavily requested feature that is about to launch, I believe, this week is the ability to turn your floor plan. So right now I can turn it around in 3D, but in 2D, if I literally wanted to flip it or rotate it, that ability is coming very soon, and that will be in this settings menu. So those of you that have been looking out for that feature, expect it very soon under the settings. All right, I'm going to go down this right-hand menu, and then we'll come back to this exciting convert to estimate button. But of course, we have a way to reset our view, zoom in and out, and then we get to how we add things onto our 3D floor plan. First of all, in our structural menu, we just added in this search bar. So those of you that have already been using the 3D floor plan, you used to have to expand and collapse all these different categories to find what you're looking for. This search functionality should hopefully help you find things quicker. So just start there unless you want to go into a specific category. So all of our structural elements are here. Something my pros typically find a use for is these wall partitions. If you are building like a custom glass shower or have a custom glass wall in the house somewhere, these glass partitions prove to be very useful. So if I want to use anything in the structural menu or anywhere else, I'm going to select it. It's going to follow my mouse around until I tell it where to be put down. So I'm just going to select again, and then that's where it will stay until I move it again or kind of rotate the direction. As kind of a universal thing within the 3D floor plan, when you have an item selected, that's how you're going to change the dimensions. So you need to change the size, the location, the height from the floor, anything that has to do with that product, just click on it, and this right-hand menu will always appear where you can make those specifications. When you exit out of that, it will deselect the product. So you can always just click on it. And duplicating is always a helpful tip. If you need the same item somewhere else on your floor plan, just click on the original one and duplicate it. It's a very simple, easy way to save some time. All right, moving on to generic products. This is all of the products. A lot of my pros just kind of stay in here when they're adding items onto their floor plan that aren't structural. So you can, once again, go into the different categories. We can take a look at the kitchen section. But also we have that search functionality. So I can search through here, find what I'm looking for. Once again, click on it, place it, and then customize it. Something I want to call out that a lot of my pros have been asking about lately that I just noticed recently in here is this electrical and telecom section. We now have ways for you to map out your electrical path within the floor plan itself. So while this tool is intended as a visual representation for your client, we are adding some more little items that would allow you to kind of use it as a building plan a little bit more so. I will specify that that is not the intended functionality. It is made to be a visual representation, but it can be a helpful tool for installation purposes potentially, and just kind of giving you a better idea about where the electrical and some other mapping things that are going on in the floor plan during your renovation. So just want to point that out here. So lots of categories of products. And, one thing I can always count on with the 3D floor plan is that we are always adding more products every month or bi-month or bi-weekly. Our 3D floor plan team just kind of dumps in 100 new products in here. So if you're in any of these sections and you're not finding what you're looking for, send in the request. We add products all the time. We also can get creative and find something in here that looks like what you're trying to represent, but maybe it's not just called the product that you're looking for. So get creative when you're searching through here to find what you're trying to represent. The source category, the generic products, they're generic products. You can customize them, change the size, change the finishes and the materials to make them look like what you're going for. But the source category, these are like more legitimate images of products. So when you go into these sections, you'll see legitimate products that can be found and purchased. You can still change the size of these items when you add them to the floor plan, but just know, like, if you did go and try to buy this metal fire ring, it's going to come in the dimensions that it originally was, not necessarily the ones you modified to. So just a call out regarding the source products. They are actual products. There's lots of tile options in here too. So a lot of the times my pros will find tile in here that they want to put in the floor plan somewhere. This section is huge. So filtering through color, style, brand, this is very helpful to narrow down what you're looking for. Newly added to the source section is our first call out of our 2D to 3D conversion. So what this is AI, you'll upload a picture of a product, or we're going through the clipper tool later. So anything you've clipped will be in here, and AI will take the image of this product and actually transfer it into 3D for you, which is super cool. And then it can be actually used on your floor plan. So I know my builders always want to add in tile to this section, the specific tile that their client's looking for. I want to call out that that is not the intended functionality of this product right now, and we cannot guarantee that AI will actually generate that properly. We're trying to take a 2D flat piece of tile and render it into 3D. It's not successful at this moment in time in transferring over materials. The intention of this right now is more furniture related items, but we know the materials is a heavily requested feature once again, and we will be working on that. Right now, it's just going to be intended for furniture. So the entry point is in the source category, or in the bottom right-hand corner, kind of underneath this chat bubble, is the My Products section, and that's where this lives as well, converting to 3D. And then any products you've gone through the conversion with will live here as well. I'm not going to go through this whole process because it takes a minute to load, but when you do choose your product, you do want to make sure that you have a clean white background, unlike this picture. The product images, it won't be picked up as nicely as something with a clean white background. So this does work for you going into a showroom, taking a picture of a product, but just be conscious of that background when you take that picture and then use that here. So essentially what you do is you add a mask, meaning you are going to highlight the product itself, mask the product, and then it will start converting it into 3D. So you'll go and move your mouse around on the product itself, and it will start rendering it after you approve what area is outlined. Moving on here, we have an upload drawing section. This goes back to what I said in the beginning about uploading your blueprint floor plan. So if you are in your floor plan already and you decide you want to upload your blueprint to trace over it or have AI transfer it into 3D for you, you can do so here. Cameras is that 3D rendering, the photorealistic image that we talked about. I promise I'll show you that example. You essentially are going to modify the height of the camera to narrow in where you're looking to have the view from. To get in the correct spot, you really want to use your navigational tools to narrow that in here. And then you can adjust the camera height and the field of view to get the photo right. And then once you click this button, it will take a couple minutes to load. And then it's actually going to import automatically into the files and photos section of your project folder. So that's where you can go to look at the image after it's been developed. And it will give you a little pop-up on your screen like your image is ready. Next is our exciting new elevation view. So this is a heavily requested feature from a lot of our pros. There's a couple ways to get into it. If I'm in 2D, I'm going to click on the wall that I want the elevation view of. An elevation view is a head-on cross-section, head-on view of a wall. So because it puts you head-on, you can take accurate dimensions to show where things are within the floor plan. So I like entering from 2D. So in my 2D view, I click on the wall, and then I want an elevation looking at my sink and stove here. So I'm going to choose the elevation from this side compared to the one up here. We'll be taking the elevation view from the exterior wall. When I click on that, here's my first look at the elevation view. So a couple things, we can widen and narrow our height and width, what we're focusing on. And then this depth is going to be important. So right now my fridge is kind of getting in the way of getting the full view of my cabinetry. So I can mess around with this elevation depth to zoom in or out essentially. So if I want to narrow in my depth to get my fridge out of there, I can continue hitting the minus button, and now my fridge is gone. So the cool thing about this view is it's a 1-to-1 scale measurement. So I can grab my measurement tool here, and maybe I want to show my window installer how high from the ceiling that these windows are. I can put in that measurement. Or a very popular one is length of cabinetry. So I can add all of these dimensions and measurements here on my measurement panel. I can screenshot this view, and then I can also generate the photorealistic image of my elevation view if I want kind of more of a detailed picture of just this wall. So those are all the things you can be doing in elevations. This just launched maybe 2 weeks ago. So if anybody has any feedback for us about this feature or what they're looking to see with it next, please relay that on. All right, next is one of my favorite features, the ability to create an estimate from our 3D floor plan. This has been very popular with a lot of the pros that I work with lately. Because like I said in the beginning, you don't necessarily always have to go into that takeoff to get these measurements. A lot of my square footage and area measurements are already here. So if I put different flooring around my whole floor plan, the different types of flooring measurements would be here. So what I want to do is go through and deselect anything that I'm not touching through this project. Maybe I'm not working on the windows. Those are staying as is. I could take those off because I don't want them on my estimate. So I can preview my estimate, make sure everything looks good. Those of you that are in the A/B testing right now, when you go into this preview estimate from this right-hand menu, you will see a little checkbox right here that says add cost items. That's going to add, when you generate the floor plan, or excuse me, the estimate from this section, AI will generate the automatic pricing for you based on all the things we have selected to go on to our estimate. And it's actually going to even add a couple more line items I've noticed based on what sort of renovation it thinks you're going to be doing based on your floor plan. So you can check that box if you see it there. It will be launched to everybody very soon. And then you'll click Create Estimate. The other A/B testing we have going on is this fancy looking button up top, Convert to Estimate. That's not going to give us the opportunity to narrow down what you want on your estimate. It's just going to pop you right into the estimate, fill out pricing for all the items that you have on your floor plan, and put a line item for everything. The good news is you can always edit your estimate once you get to it. So feel free to pop into the estimate and then edit it further afterwards. All right, we've gone through a lot. I want to talk about sharing the floor plan next in that client comment section, but just wanted to pause for a second to see if anybody has any specific questions.
You're doing great. I think we've answered a lot of questions as we've gone through. There is a request if you could show the staircase and how that works.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be under our structural elements. I will admit there's still some improvement to be made with our staircases. They are kind of one directional right now. So in the instance that we're talking about multiple floors, if my staircase starts on my main level and goes up to my second level, I'm going to put my staircase on my main level by selecting the one I want and establishing where I want it to go. I can edit the dimensions, riser materials, as well as treads, railings, balusters. So you can change all the material selections for all the different types of, or all the different parts of the staircase. And then if you do have a secondary floor, when you go to that floor, you can use this one, stair step, as well as, I think there's one more item in here. Yeah, sometimes even these like single treads. So we're going to put a visual representation of where the stairs land on that second floor. We're not going to add more stairs to the second floor like we did here, because that's where they're ending. And right now, since the stairs are only one directional, we're going to establish that landing point at the top floor, essentially. Those are kind of my best recommendations with stairs right now, but we are always looking to make improvements here based on what our pros are asking for. So keep submitting your feedback about what you would like to see out of these floors or stairs. But yes, right now they're one directional. We can peek at this in 3D. So they do look very nice. If I had a second story here, my ceiling would be a little bit different. And then when I go up to my second floor here, that's where I would put kind of the single tread or just the landing point as a visual representation for your client.
Okay, great. I think we're good to continue.
Okay. So when it comes to sharing with your client, we can click on this share button here. We can print this, of course, if I just want to print the 2D view to have a copy. But sharing electronically is really going to be that more interactive experience. So if you have your client saved to your project folder already, their email will be here. I also really like publishing it to the dashboard. If you haven't used the client dashboard yet, I highly recommend it. It's a great tool for your client to find everything regarding their project in one spot. And this will always default to not publish to the client dashboard. So if you want it to go onto their dashboard, we must publish it. I talked about client commenting earlier. In order for your client to put comments on the products throughout your floor plan, we need to share this over email. So once again, if you want your client to comment, please make sure to share over email. That does not mean you can't also publish it to their dashboard. You of course can and should, so they can reference it later without tracking down that email. But we got to share over email to get those client comments. And then I can also copy the link to this. When I copy the link and paste it into a new tab, you'll get the view of the floor plan as you were your client. So they can't edit your floor plan, but they can view it, pan around it, rotate, zoom in, zoom out, do the walkthrough view, which puts them standing in the space. So it looks really cool to share with your client this way, but just know they don't have editing capability for the 3D floor plan. So those are my recommendations regarding sharing. And as long as we don't have any other questions, we will continue moving on here to our Clipper tool.
Just one last question. I think we may have recently launched an update to this, but is there a way to print this to scale, like a blueprint style plan?
We made some feature adjustments to when you print this so it actually looks nicer, but the scale of our floor plan is 1-to-1 when we're viewing it. So my assumption is when you print it, the scale is also 1-to-1. We can definitely get that verified, but I don't foresee the scale changing when we print it because that's how it's actually laid out here. Katie, are you aware of anything differently there?
No, I think that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think we are good to move on.
Okay. All right. So for the Clipper tool, that is our selection board and tracker's best friend, but it also can work in conjunction with your estimates. So the first thing I want to show is how to actually install the Clipper tool. In everybody's account under the question mark, but let's see, it's actually under... Is it under, where did they move it to?
There we go, under integrations. You just had it. The question mark, I think. No, go down to the icon, the gear. There we go.
Okay. Settings.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, our navigation menu changes and updates. I'm sure you all have experienced that before. Under the settings gear in everybody's accounts, here is where you're going to find the Clipper tool. This can also be a simple Google search of Houzz Pro Clipper tool. You'll get popped to the same page. So when I open this up, this is going to prompt you to install the Clipper tool, and there's a little fun tutorial on how to actually use it. So you'll see this in your bookmarks bar of your computer navigation after you install it. If everybody is not already using Chrome for Houzz Pro, please always use Chrome browser when you are navigating within Houzz Pro. For my friends that are still using Safari, what I'll share is that I have pros that will come to me with these weird problems that I've never heard of happening. And the first question I ask them is, are you using a Safari browser? And the answer is typically yes. So our program is just really not compatible with Safari. So navigate over to Chrome, and that's where the Clipper tool extension lives. It's only within Chrome. So you'll install this, and that's step one. Once it's installed, you're pretty much good to go. So I'm going to go within one of my project folders. Selections boards are only within the project stage at this moment in time. They're not in the lead portal. So we'll want to have converted our lead to a project or started a new project folder to leverage this tool and your selections boards. So before I start clipping products for my selections boards, I like to create my boards first. So you can come into selections boards in the project and create new ones. Some of my pros choose to align with the different areas of the home in terms of naming their boards, but sometimes the client has maybe you're doing a bathroom and a kitchen, and maybe you only want to share one board with them. You can make the boards whatever you want them to be. They don't have to be per room. That is the average way of doing it, but this is really customizable to you. And then I can assign my team members to be working on this if somebody else is going to be working on the board. So I'm going to focus on my kitchen board today. And to start with my clipper tool, I'm going to go onto a website. I'm on Houzz already, so I'm going to stay on Houzz for this example today, but I want to emphasize that the clipper tool works on any website. You can go anywhere you buy products for your client. Build.com is a common one that I hear. Four Hands is a common one I hear from my designers. So go on anybody's website as long as they have an online catalog. This does not work with a PDF catalog. It doesn't have a way to scan the information on the page. So it needs to be an online catalog. We totally have workarounds for PDF ones where you can manually import them, but you wouldn't be utilizing the clipper tool for that. So just want to let you guys know that. I'm going to open up my clipper tool, which lives in my bookmarks bar at the top of my Chrome browser. So after you install it, you'll probably notice a black H symbol starting to follow you around when you hover over images. That is your clipper tool asking you if you want to open it to clip that image, that product. So if you do, clip it, open it, and then we can start clipping. So along the theme of AI, Houzz integrating AI into so many different aspects of our program. We have AI in our clipper tool too. So this automates smart sourcing isn't accessible on every single website. If it is, I definitely recommend using it. It will autofill in everything. If it's not, I'm going to show just the manual way in case you need to do that. This finger selection tool, I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to start highlighting information that I want to pull for this product. So I want to assign this as the product title. I want to assign my cost as the product cost. I want to save the description in case my client wants to view it. Any other information regarding the product that you want to clip and have saved, I can select it and assign it to that category that I want. So as you can see, when I'm selecting these items, it's auto-filling in the correct section, but I need to make sure I added my pictures. So I'm going to click on all the pictures that I want to save. And all of these images will get saved with the product in my Houzz Pro account. All right, so a couple more important things. I can add my markup right away if I want to, not a requirement, and definitely can be added later. But if you know it, if it's a standard number, might as well put it in there. And then the taxable section, you can turn this on or off. And then I want to categorize this for being able to find it again. So I can select whatever category I feel like is most applicable, or I can start typing in a new one to add a new category. Which vendor or sub is this from? Once you add things into these sections one time, you don't have to again. And then we want to make sure that I'm saving the product to the project that I'm working on. And then if I already have that board created, I'm going to assign it to that board right away, because when I go back into Houzz Pro and that board, it will already be there. This new placeholder functionality is something cool. I can speak to this more once we get back to our selections board, but you can essentially put an image as a placeholder for a product. Maybe your client hasn't selected the table they want yet. So I have a placeholder sitting there on my board, but now I know which table they want. So I can come in here and say that I'm replacing that placeholder with the actual product, and it will take away that placeholder and put the table there instead. So I'm going to save this. And then, like I said, we go back to our board, and it's going to be here waiting for us to move around. So that's how easy and quick the Clipper tool can be. If I had clicked that AI smart sourcing, it would have filled in all that information, and I would have just told it which project it's for and which category of product it is. So it would have been even quicker. So a lot of my clients like to go on all the websites, clip all the products, and then come back here and start organizing the board. Whatever you feel like your flow is, totally up to you. When we're in our board, I can kind of start creating sections of products. This helps you be organized, but also helps your client go through the different sections and not just be overwhelmed by 20 products sitting in a row. So I can use the 3 dots to actually add this to another section. I don't have a great one right now created. If I wanted to create another section, I can hover between gaps, and I will see this create new section option. So maybe I want a dining room dining furniture section. I can change the color, and I can add a description. Some of my pros use this description as instructions for their client. Select one of the tables in this section. And then I can drag this product, or I can just click to add it to that section. And then we're back to my nice organization of what I have up here at the top. I like the way this looks. Everybody can kind of organize their board differently, but this is my mood board sitting here. So I can have my mood board and a 2D view of my 3D floor plan here. So if I had different 3D floor plans or mood boards that I wanted them to decide between, I can ask for approvals on those. So it doesn't have to be just products on here. I can add my mood board, my floor plan. I can add files and photos on here. Maybe I'm trying to get my client's opinion on more things. And for my builders out there, it doesn't have to all be furniture. I have contractors that use this to have their client make tile selections, flooring selections. What color paint do you want your house? So this can be for any sort of approval. It does not have to be just for furniture. All right, so that's how we use the Clipper tool to get products onto a board. But also we have these other options on our right-hand menu. So maybe I clipped a product in the past that I want to use on this board. The My Items section holds all the products you've ever clipped and everything in your My Items section. So I can grab products from here and just add them onto this board. We also have our Home Depot brand catalog. I'm sorry for our Canadian friends out there, you don't have access to this quite yet. For our US pros, the answer is yes, we only have Home Depot. I know I have a lot of Lowe's pros out there. We're working on more brand catalogs, collaborations to have them in our program. 3D floor plans, this is how you grab it to put it on here. Same thing for mood boards. If I didn't have a mood board, I could go and create one from this view as well, in addition to just going right into the mood board, and then it would be here to select. So either way, achieves the same result. Images, all of your files in your files and photos section of your project folder will be here. So speaking of images in our files and photos, here's some elevation photorealistic renderings I've taken. And then here's that other one I kept referring to earlier. Really nice picture. Maybe I want this big. I can change the size of this to a large to take up the full top section. So this is what that photorealistic rendering from the 3D floor plan can look like. Literally like you stood in the space and took a picture. Really cool how it incorporates all the shadows and reflections. So I can change this back to small and move it around if I would like to. So that's our files section. I can also upload from our Google Drive connection, so your Google Drive, and other ways to upload file types here too. So you can really add anything you want on your selections board, whether it's from your Clipper tool or manual uploads. It's all an option. You can put anything on here. All right. When I go into preview and share, I want to do this always before sharing with my client. The view I'm looking at here is the view that they'll see. So what do I want them to see? Let's customize that. In the pricing, do I want to show them this budget? Do I want to show them the item pricing of my products? It includes your markup, and they aren't able to see the breakdown of your markup. So maybe that's okay with me. A little call out about this budget. A lot of my designers have been requesting the ability to show the overall project budget, not just this room. We're working on the ability to share that with them, and it should be coming soon. And then an important call out here under item details. We want to make sure that we are either good or not good sharing our product links. This would allow them to click onto the product to see where you clipped it, and they would see the original unit cost then. So if I'm including my markup and I don't want that transparency, then I might want to take off my product links. This order tracking is brand new. If I come in here and add the tracking information for these products after I purchase them, the client can come into the item overview, and that tracking breakdown will actually live right here in this item overview. So great tool. And then approvals. What am I actually asking for approvals on? Maybe they already selected this mood board and floor plan, so I don't need to ask for that approval. So decide what you want them to actually be able to click approve and decline on. And then I'm going to share it over email, copy the link, or publish it to the dashboard. So all the same options that we talked about with 3D, same here. I can also download a PDF and a tear sheet. What's the difference? The difference is the formatting on the pages that you extract themselves. The tear sheet is the more formal, like one product per page, and it tells you the whole description, everything that's very common for our designers. And then downloading the PDF is going to be a more simplified view with more than just one product on a page. So you can use them for different things. Most importantly, what do we do with our clients' selections after they make them? we can convert these products that they approved actually directly into a estimate or an invoice, or if you're a designer, a proposal. Proposals and estimates are the same thing. So I can click convert, and then I'm going to choose which option, either estimate/proposal or invoice. And then I'm going to go through. This actually will pull products from all the boards within my one project folder. So I can accumulate all of my approved products from all the different rooms onto one financial document. So just a little tip on kind of strategy here. Some of my pros will make a estimate in the beginning of the project for just their construction related costs. And then they will do the selections process to then generate an invoice or an estimate for all of the approved products that they want to choose. We also are working on an allowance system if some of you folks use allowances, and the ability of having the allowance on your estimate will have you fill out the selections boards, and then it will connect to a change order for you to specify what that allowance amount actually ends up being after those product selections are made. So something to look forward to here in the next little while. But selections boards can and should be converted into an estimate or an invoice. Any questions here before we go on to the selections tracker?
No questions. You're doing a great job, but feel free to put any questions in if there's anything here that Julia hasn't covered.
Awesome. So the reason why I say the selections tracker, the board should be converted to a financial document is because we don't want duplicates. If we have a product on our selections board, that's going to be on our selections tracker, which we're going to go to next. But if I went and created an estimate from scratch and I added that same product onto my estimate, then I would have that product twice on my selections tracker. So if I'm adding it to a board, I want to use the board to generate the financial document instead of opening up a new financial document and re-adding that product onto my estimate or invoice. So all of our things should touch each other. My selections board should go into my document. My estimate should go into my change order, which we'll talk about soon. But I'm going to pop over to our selections tracker now, and we'll see what I mean about kind of the products being on there. In my project navigation, a lot of my pros forget about this option in the upper left-hand corner. You can navigate to other tools within this same project folder without going all the way back to the home base. So use this inner project navigation. It's pretty much always in the upper left-hand corner. And this is how I can get to my selections tracker. Also, if I'm just in my selections boards view, at the top is an option to just toggle over to the tracker too. So they're the same thing, but just two ways to get there. Okay, so here's my table. I didn't add my table to my selections tracker. I put it on my board and now it's here. I also have a lot of estimates in this project folder. So line items from my estimates will already be on my selections tracker. So anything in a project folder that is on a financial document, estimate/proposal, invoice, change order, selections board, all of those line items will be here. So the selections tracker is kind of like a master location to come look at all the line items and products related to this project. There's tons of filters in here, and I'll sort of highlight some of those, but high level overview is filter through the views to find the information that you're looking for. Save those filtered views if you commonly want to see that sort of information. So up here in the upper left, we have planning, my view, financials, procurement, and then all. Julia's view is a custom view I created. I'm going to show you how to do that in 1 second, but the other ones that I mentioned will be the defaults that are here. So a very commonly used one is the procurement. This is where you should go to add your order tracking. My pros are always asking me, like, how do I keep track of all of these products and when they're coming in, where they're being delivered, if they're going to a maybe a warehouse getting delivered there, and then somebody from your company is then bringing them to the client's home. This is a great tool to use for even situations like that. You can export this information and share it with your other employees so they know which area of the home this product is actually going to go in when they are delivering it or installing it. So this order tracking stuff is not updated automatically. You need to come in here and add the information. You can change the status to keep track of this. So input all of this information and make sure to update it if there's been any changes. We talked about sharing the order tracking with your client. That stems from you adding the information here. You can also add it in the selections board itself, but if you add it in either place, both places will have it. They talk to each other. And then also, when you choose to show it to your client, any updates that you make here will automatically publish onto their dashboard. So when they check, it will be accurate if you've updated it. So mess around with the different views and use the filters here to look at different information first. Very popular organizational is by approval method. So I can collapse all of my pending and just look at my approved products. So use these filters to kind of see what kind of information you're looking for. Another common filter type is by room. So if I want to call out the different products that are all going in my kitchen and have those grouped together, I can apply that filter. So lots of filtering options, mess around with them to get the view you're looking for. And then back to the Julia's view, this create a new view is a newer feature inside a selections tracker where when you create a new view, it's going to ask you what you want actually in this view. So, and even the line height, do I want them stacked or flat? Like how much information can I see at once? And then I can go through all these different toggles and turn off and turn on all the fields of information that I want, and then save it, just like I've done here. So I can still then use these additional filters to show me within my view what I'm looking for, but it's a good way to have a preset. The company view, this is a way to customize the view for all the people in your company to be seeing. If you want a standardized view for all of you, yourself and your team members. That way they don't have to apply the filters every time. They can just go look at the company view and see what they're looking for faster. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is the ability to add custom columns. So when you scroll all the way to the right, I can add additional information, fields of info here. So if we, out of all these fields, forgot something that's essential to you, come in here and add it. I can export this view into my FFE schedule in an Excel format, a PDF, or a tear sheet. So these are all the different ways you can export this information to relay on to others. I can add items to my selections tracker here through my items or brand catalogs. Once again, we want to be careful of those duplicates, making sure that the product's not already here. Like you can see here, I have duplicate tubs. So be careful of duplicates. And why would I add something onto my tracker without my board? Maybe I don't need a selections board for this project. And maybe I need an item in my tracker that wasn't already on my estimate or proposal. So just a hypothetical situation where you can add more items on here if needed. Any questions on our tracker?
No, we're good to keep going.
Okay. So I'm going to go to estimates to start talking about change orders. So there are two types of situations on average where we need a change order. The question is, was the product, was the item, was the line item, was the service that you need to increase the cost of on your original estimate, or was it not? If there was a line item on your original estimate that needs to increase in cost, maybe my cabinet installation ended up being more than I anticipated on my estimate. So if you have an existing line item on your estimate that needs to increase in cost, we want to go to that estimate to generate the change order for it. So I would come here, I would click on the line item, and I would create a change order under the actions menu. So I would do this if there's already the line item that needs to get updated existing on my estimate. And I guess before I continue on, I do want to say that if you are on our design software, you do not have change orders yet. Those will be coming, I believe, this quarter, very soon for you to be able to leverage increasing the cost of existing line items and creating change orders from scratch. For now, it's just in our build software. So once again, under clicking on a line item, I can create a change order for that specific line item, and I'll select this in just a second, but a lot of my pros forget to select the line item, and they end up generating a change order for the entire estimate. It tends to be pretty confusing for your client when you have all of the same line items on your estimate, but you actually only updated the cost of one of them. So my recommendation is to scroll through the estimate real quick, find the line item, and generate the change order just for that line item. So it keeps it simple. Because when we get over to this change order, the cool part about this is it's going to show your client the planned versus the updated cost with just this one thing that changed. The change order essentially functions as an estimate where you can get your client's signature on this change. So protection for your business, definitely. So maybe the unit cost of this installation went up to $200. It's going to show me the planned or the updated versus the planned. And the difference between those two is the balance of this document, what your client owes you. So I can make sure that that $19.50 goes into this payment schedule. And then I can preview this document, make sure that all of the pricing information is what I want to be displaying, customizing what your client can see. This is the updated view of it. Everybody will be seeing this version soon, but if you haven't had the updated version that we're beta testing yet, it will still remain at the top, similar to what we saw in selections boards. So make sure it looks good, make sure your client's signature is on, and then send this to them to get their approval and their signature. So that's situation number one of creating a change order. updating, increasing the cost of an existing line item. And emphasis on increasing. If we are doing a decrease in price, that is not what a change order is for. That would be dealt with on your invoice. The invoice is the only place we want to deal with decreases in pricing or credits. So change orders are for increases in cost. Second situation that is very common for creating a change order is from scratch. I would create a change order from scratch if I had an additional scope of work that came up. Something as simple as that window we didn't anticipate needing to fix and now we do. So I'm going to make a change order from scratch because it wasn't on my original estimate. Or something as big as I went into the client's home to do a kitchen and now I need to also do their bathroom. So when it's that large of a scope, because the change order does function the same as the estimate in terms of getting the client's signature, some of my pros opt to use that. But you could also go generate a secondary estimate for that additional scope of work if you prefer that method. So that's really a personal preference thing. But additional scopes of work definitely can be created by using a change order from scratch. We also have AI here to help you generate them, and you can save templates. Most of my pros end up using the AI or generating from scratch for change orders specifically. So, like I've been saying, it functions the same as the estimate. So all of our navigation on the right-hand side are the same here. I'm going to add line items based on the additional scope that came up that was not originally included on my original estimate. And then I'm going to make sure my payment terms are set up right. I can attach files, insert terms and conditions and memo, make sure my client signature's on, and then I can preview this once again before sending it out. So once you get comfortable with one of our financial documents, like estimates and proposals, all of the others kind of function the same. So you should feel familiar once you get into it. But with change orders, I just want to once again emphasize that if you are updating, increasing the cost of an existing line item, go to the original document that it was on, that estimate or proposal, generate the change order for just that one line item or multiple things that changed. Or if it's the additional scope, come to change orders, generate one from scratch, send this out to your client for approval and payment. The last thing I'll mention here is that when you apply a payment to a change order, it is going to say that it's unapplied. This is the same principle as the estimate. The reason being is because I need to generate an invoice for all of my estimates and all of my change orders. Whether I do this second when I apply this payment by creating an invoice for it right now, or at the end of the project when I go back to all my change orders and estimates and generate invoices for all of them. The invoice can serve as just a receipt for your client, showing them that they have a $0 balance left. But even if I don't want to send this to them, it's applying that change order payment. Now, when I go back to my change order, since I generated that invoice, that unapplied moved to applied simply because I generated that invoice. So unapplied payment, it's nothing to be nervous about. It's just saying I need to generate an invoice from this document at some point in time. And that connects back to what I said about credits and negative dollar amounts, decreasing costs. Those are all dealt with on our invoice. So when we generate that invoice from our change order or our estimate, I can add my credit on that invoice at that point in time. And if I end with a negative dollar amount on my invoice, that will show that I owe my client back money. We won't help you do that refund through Houzz. You'll have to do that outside of Houzz Pro, but it's a way for you to keep track of any money owed back to your client. Okay. Any questions about change orders?
This is not only about change orders, but a question from Denny around the average price catalog, basically, and how and if we're keeping prices updated.
Yeah. So in brand catalogs, the average pricing catalog, this does get updated. These are national averages. So they're not necessarily specific to a specific area. They're national averages for material and labor costs. These do get updated. Off the top of my head, I cannot recall how often, but it is a good starting point if you need some assistance with pricing. But the Automate AI is going to source local averages for you based on the project zip code. So we introduced the the average pricing catalog before we had AI. It was a good starting point for national averages. But now that we have the AI and it pulls from that project zip code, a lot of my pros have been using that more so because it's more of a local average. So something to think about when you're deciding where to pull products from. But then just because we're in here in the brand catalogs, the Home Depot, this does live update. So if you're in any of these sections, this is the cost that's on their website. And then if you are logged into your Pro Extra account because you have a Pro Extra account through Home Depot, then they are your live updated prices that you get, your discounted offers for being a Pro Extra member.
Awesome. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to show some resources and then we're going to wrap up. So if anybody has any other questions, make sure to put them in the chat now. I'm happy to go through those before our time is up here today. But in addition to having a dedicated client success manager, if you want one on the custom program, we have plenty of other resources for you. In the bottom left-hand corner, this question mark button is a great starting point. So first of all, we have our help center here. This is a underutilized resource in my opinion. When I have questions, I come and I type them in here. You can also go into all the different sections of our software offerings and watch videos and read articles about a lot of them. Also under the question mark button, this Houzz Pro training. This is where we post about our webinars. So you can come here and register for other webinars that we have going on. This is a great resource if you're looking for some additional training. And then lastly, we wanted to call out our pro to pro discussions. A lot of my pros ask me, like, how do I collaborate with other pros? How do I learn more about what other people are doing? I think this is a great resource to start utilizing. And Katie, I'll let you mention anything else you wanted to speak to regarding these discussions.
Yeah, this is a great spot, as Julia said, just to connect with others, understand, hey, how are you doing takeoffs, or how are you running this part of your business? And then we're also going to start using the forum more to get any ideas you have for new features, or if, we have a roadmap of upcoming features, we can get your input into which ones we should prioritize, highlighting upcoming events in different markets, things like that. So basically, just having it as a really good resource for you to have questions answered or just to browse what others are doing.
Yeah. So lots of resources at your disposal. You can find them all in the question mark button. And as a fail-safe, there's I go on Google and type in Houzz Pro, how to whatever. So you can even just do that to find some of the articles that we have in the Help Center. So it's always a
Yeah.
great option.
And Julie, do you just want to show that little green chat icon in the bottom right corner as well?
Yes. This is a link, a chat to our support team. During their working hours, there are real people here manning these chats. They work hard to respond as quickly as possible. So this is a great resource to get an answer while you're working and you don't want to stop and pick up the phone to call our support or do some research. You can look in here and ask your questions. If you're outside of working hours, you'll get an AI bot that attempts to put the best resource in front of you. But a lot of the times it creates a case and our support team will follow up with you if you didn't feel like you received the proper answer from the AI chat.
Great. We did have one question around the Home Depot integration. So that's an area we're always, looking and actively investigating additional partnerships. So if there are suppliers or retailers that you're working with, feel free to send those into our team too as suggestions for future partnerships we can look into.
Yes, thank you all for your time and attention today. And hopefully you got some useful value out of the things we covered and highlighted some of the very awesome tools that we have on Houzz Pro.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.